Good evening, everybody. This is Dan Thompson with Beyond the Buzzer, and this is now the edition for January 21st,
That's
2021. Right. I'm your host, Dan Thompson, checking with you tonight. Senior NBA writer for the threepointconversion.com, and this is your first time in watching the show tonight. Shame on you, but also welcome at the same time. For the next hour, me and my man to the right of me, also from the Three-Point Conversion, college football insider in UCF, my man knows everything from UCF, the student of the game, Mr. Kyle Nash.
What's going on, Dan Thompson? First of all, yes, to all our first-time viewers, thank you for coming aboard and letting us help you get a hold of your life.
So for the next hour, Kyle, myself, and our super producer, Bobby Blackjack up in New Jersey, you'll see him pop in sooner or later, sometime this evening. We'll go over everything you've missed in the last, 48 hours, 50 hours of sports, from a different perspective, and also having a little bit of fun as well, too. So if you're on the Facebook side, Zingo side, as well as YouTube, and anywhere you can see the sound of my voice, please, by all means, leave comments in the chat so Kyle and I can also let you know, acknowledge you, and also at the same time, quote on what you're talking about.
Hey, listen, man, we respect trolls here. Just ask Rodney. Anyways.
Hey, listen, Rodney's Rodney. Listen, leave Rodney alone. He has nothing to troll on. The Panthers are done, and Clemson win the national championship, so you got to let him live sometime in life. Just not on this show. Check out their show Under Construction on Sundays on YouTube, as well as check out the YouTube page and subscribe to their podcast anywhere podcasts are also distributed. Also, check out our friends at Valor, which is its.valur.us, as you see above my left-hand corner, for all things music, entertainment, gifts, background music, and also marketing needs as well too. Check out our good friends at Mentality Barbershop, 2611 North Pine Hills Road in Orlando, Florida. Best haircut place you're going to find anywhere in Central Florida.
So fresh and so clean.
Yes, so fresh and so clean is the great way to start the show tonight, because guess what? You know it wasn't clean last night, Kyle? The Brooklyn Nets wasn't clean last night.
Oh no, here we come, coming right after Bobby Blackjack's throat. First segment of the show. Tell you.
Listen. James Harden was traded, and Bobby was ready to start the parade all through Brooklyn. Yes, you can dance all you want to, because that's what Colin Sexton did in the fourth quarter in overtime last night.
Oh, Lord.
Kyrie Irving finally returns to the lineup as he returned back home to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers in a game that Kyle not to one, not two, but two overtimes last night. And the fact of, if you had thought that you'd have had Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving play over 45-plus minutes, in Irving's case, 48 minutes, you would have thought they would have won this game pretty handily. No. Colin Sexton put on a one-man scoring barrage between the fourth quarter and both overtime, scoring 20 of his 42 points in the second part of the game. Cavs not only won, but they won by 12 points against the Brooklyn Nets, the almighty superpower Brooklyn Nets, 147-135 last night, Kyle, in Cleveland. They'll play again tomorrow night, 2 games in 3 nights, straight baseball style. But Kyle, as we get into it, listen, what more can you say about this first game, Kyle? Kyrie Irving's back in the lineup, and the one thing I did notice, Kyle, when watching the game last night was the shot distribution seemed to be real interesting, because James Harden was one that deferred last night. Harden only took, I think it was 14 shots last night in the game, and even though he had another triple-double, Kyrie Irving took like 30-something shots, and Kevin Durant took 30 shots. Kyle, this is what happens when you have top-heavy basketball.
I mean, listen, I was going to make a joke about don't call it a rebuild in Cleveland. Listen, I can't put it any better than that. You've said everything that needs to be said. Bobby has showed his Harden footage and humiliation for the net. We expect, perfect. Thank you. Well played, Bobby. At the end of the day, though, aren't you going to expect some of these as this group tries to get together? Even objectively speaking, as somebody who doesn't think that this concoction is going to work for the Brooklyn Nets, at the end of the day, even if later on in the postseason it actually matters, this is the sort of growing pain you get. You never saw it exactly like this, but there were moments when the big three in Miami with Bosh, Wade, and LeBron had some hiccups. Granted, nothing quite this embarrassing, Grant. but this sort of thing, right?
Bobby?
Time out. You kind of saw my panache there, but yeah, same thing happened in Miami 8, 10, how many years ago, so we'll be fine. It's a New York thing to like coast in the beginning and turn the power switch on a month or two before the playoffs.
But Bobby, you were blowing up my phone talking about the Nets winning the championship right now. Like seriously, as soon as they got James Harden, you was ready to start going through the streets grabbing junior.
We are.
But like I said, but what did I tell you, Bobby? I said pump your brakes. The same way I said when you guys won the first 2 games, it's calm down. The same way I'm saying last night, for all those who hate Brooklyn, it's just the first game.
I mean, not for nothing, the Magic were 4-0 in what point? What does that mean? I'm just saying.
I mean, Kyle. I mean, Notre Dame was also undefeated in football. We saw it.
Oh no, you didn't. Oh, that was a cheap shot there.
So was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, that was my turn to carry it and say the Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoff. Oh wait,
they did.
Yeah.
At that point, Bobby stays away from the rest of the show tonight. So, Kyle, like I said, to me, it's really about at this point in time, it's pump the brakes time. Like I said, you can't judge a team off one game when they're still getting used to each other. Now, the Steve Nash got to learn substitution patterns. Yes. Mm-hmm. Jersey's strong. Yes, jerseys are strong. They don't rip.
Yeah, Jersey's strong. Yeah, they do have a strong chance to get Deshaun Watson. 08 wrong jersey team.
Exactly. So when you look at the Nets the way they are, don't worry about it. It's just one game. We talk about, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. Listen, it's just one game. It's calm down. We're still in January in the NBA. So like we're still in the, if it's like boxing, if this is a boxing match, Kyle, we're like in the second round right now. You're still trying to feel out your opponent. You're still throwing jabs here and there. You're not Mike Tysoning power shots here. Real boxers know that you don't really go for the kill early unless you see an opening. Speaking of things seeing an opening, guess what? COVID's winning again. But Kyle, the NBA might have done something to probably change the tide when it comes to COVID.
Really?
Yes. There's been an outbreak among the Memphis Grizzlies, and the only thing we know is that Jonas Valanciunas is the only guy that has actually come out with the positive COVID test. So the NBA normally has sent these teams on the road playing with 7, 8, 9, 10 players, G League players, and water boys over the last few weeks. But here's what they did, Kyle, in a changing turn of events. The NBA has canceled the next 3 games, has postponed the next 3 consecutive games for the Memphis Grizzlies, essentially giving them about a 10-day period off. They get 10 days off. So basically, they took them off the schedule for an entire week. Even though we don't know how many players have COVID, this might be a bright idea. If not just cancel one game, cancel a couple of them in a row, get everybody back in order. We'll see you in a couple of days.
I mean, this is another thing on paper, and we kind of alluded to this in the past, and I was somebody who at that time was even advocating this concept of a solution myself until you informed me. Leaving the players out on their own to do whatever and what have you that they may is kind of problematic. Oh, sure, there are rules, but at the end of the day, at some point, somebody's going to go and try and get some chicken wings.
Well, I mean, they've cut chicken wings. They've cut off. Can't stand you, but no, there's COVID is 10 over. Listen, you know what, Bobby, put that on the screen, please, because I'm going to address this right now. The elephant.
Okay, no, let's get it in there.
Let's go ahead. Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead, and post it.
Yes,
COVID is 10-0 versus the Sixers. Hey, listen, that's the only thing the Sixers is beating right now is COVID. Okay.
Oh!
Listen, once again, Kyle, like I said before, it's early part in the season. Before Sixer fans have been having their great start and enjoy it for what it is. But just know when we get to real basketball, when it counts, as long as COVID doesn't rip apart the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference, Philly's no better than the 5th team in the East. Okay. They're not better than Milwaukee. They're not better than Brooklyn. They're not better than Miami, and they're not better than Boston. Don't let Miami's slow start fool you. COVID kind of ripped their team apart right now. On top of that, Boston is still getting over their COVID situation. They should be fine. Kemba Walker's now healthy. I mean, see, I'm not going there with you, Rodney. See, there you go. There's the troll. There's Rodney. Right? Well, welcome to the show, Rodney.
How do I do what weekly? Like,
listen,
I paid tribute to him as a troll, and he's asking me how I do this. What am I doing weekly? Paying tribute to you and your trolliness? I can stop.
No, unlike just like Teddy Bridgewater, he doesn't finish sentences or games. That's all I'm saying.
Oh Lord.
Come on my show, try and troll me. You're right. Exactly. The one thing with the Sixers is that they're a much more balanced team, but even with the balance of the team act, Brooklyn, no one can, Mark is correct. No one can stop Embiid. But you know what does stop the Sixers? Ben Simmons' jump shot. That stops the Sixers.
I can't even joke about that.
No. And when your number 2 player refuses to shoot jump shots or anything outside of 7 feet in the playoffs, when everything gets compacted, the Sixers are in trouble. I don't care how many 3-point shooters you have. You can have Seth Curry. Danny Green's a 3-point shooter, but here's the thing with Danny Green. Danny Green was brought in to shoot 3-pointers. The problem was last time Danny Green had a big shot, guess what happened, Kyle? It was in the NBA Finals. And what did he do? He bricked the wide open 3-pointer with this to close out the series. He got paid $10+ million to knock down 3-pointers. A wide open shot that you probably hit 10 million times in the gym by himself. Couldn't do it with the game on the line. Clang. He Ben Simmons. I don't trust the Sixers. And then Doc Rivers is the head coach. That's perfectly fine. But the last time Doc Rivers got out of the second round of the playoffs, Kyle, was over a decade ago.
Yeah.
I had hair. Kyle, I think, was still playing football at the time.
A decade ago. Not quite. Just a little bit. That's a little too, not quite far enough, partner.
Listen, 10 years ago, Kyle, I was in North Carolina the first time that happened. Okay? My Apple wasn't born. Your children weren't born.
That's correct.
And I didn't have a beard. That's all I'm telling you.
I was still a newlywed.
Cha-ching. Listen, we're 15 games of the season. We're not talking about 15 games of the season. We're talking about what actually counts in the postseason. When Ben Simmons hits a jump shot, you call me. When Ben Simmons does hit,
fanboy, get a hint. No,
Mark's a Sixers guy. Mark's my that's my guy. He's a Sixers guy, but Sixer fans, like Eagle fans, are deluded. We'll get to the Eagles in a few minutes.
Oh, here we go. Here it comes. Wow, listen. Okay, that's a bridge too far. Okay, at least they're not benching Embiid for a lack of performance. Settle down there, Chief. Okay.
No, because actually the coach actually knows what they're doing instead of the front office. But I digress, and we'll get to the Eagles in just a minute. Kyle, speaking of things that we have to wait just a minute for, let's switch over to the NFL. Things we're waiting on. We're waiting on. Oh, here we go.
Oh, no. See, now he's going for personal attacks. He can't speak for anything in the sports world, so he's got to go personal attack.
Listen, his 1,000-yard wide receiver thought their mascot was a bear.
Oh, man, listen,
I ain't got nothing either. And neither did Teddy Bridgewater in the fourth quarter games. He had nothing.
Oh, here he goes again with the Teddy. Hey, listen.
Okay.
Bridgewater.
Okay. Water under the bridge. My bad. Okay. I'm sorry. I Clemson secondary. My bad. In the national championship semifinals. My bad. Okay.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying.
And then you're going to bring Clemson back up to talk trash on Bobby later, aren't you? This is a very complicated web you weaved, Danny Thompson.
It's not. Listen. Like Justin Fields, I know how to get myself out of pocket in crazy situations when the game's on the line. Against Clemson. That's all I'm saying.
Man, listen.
I can maneuver out the pocket. The question is, Rodney can't sack me unlike Clemson. That's all I'm saying.
Man,
all right.
He's relentless.
Back to I said things that we don't know is Patrick Mahomes' injury situation with the Kansas City Chiefs is the real thing we need to talk about next. The AFC and the NFC championship games is set for Sunday afternoon. And Kyle, listen, we don't have an idea if Patrick Mahomes is playing. Air quotes.
I mean, you say that, but it's been declared in a lot of places that he will, right? I mean, there's medical sources. I don't know that the team has all out made a statement per se, but he's not ruled as out. That's for certain.
And he's definitely not ruled. Yeah, he's definitely not ruled out being out. The also thing is, listen, he practiced today. And the funny part, Kyle, is you look at the injury report, not only is saying concussion, it says toe. When the hell did Patrick Mahomes have a toe injury?
Well, it depends on a number of things. So I've heard that the reason that he limped and got all funny is being actually linked to a nerve issue in his neck. I'm not a doctor or any of that. I'm just telling you, it's been reported that that's the case, and it would seem allegedly that the one that reported such is a doctor. But again, how credible that is or isn't, I'm not here to explain it.
I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how it's a toe injury. I'm trying to figure out how a concussion and a toe comes to the same injury. But listen,
no, it's connected to the nerve thing, is what I was telling you.
The nerve bone's connected to the toe bone. Gotcha. All right. So
basically,
so the real question, Kyle, is we talked about this on Monday. Like, how can you judge who wins this game on Sunday between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes? It's real simple. We're now into Thursday, going into Friday, and he's not been ruled out, and he's had no setbacks. Expect him to play on Sunday. Okay.
As we said on Monday, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless he couldn't walk or throw the ball straight, and even if he couldn't throw the ball straight, I think he still would have started. There's no way Patrick Mahomes sits this game out. There's everything on the line, and the Bill. If Chad Henne starts, no matter how great he played in the fourth quarter, the Bills will be playing in the Super Bowl if that's the case. So, Kyle, as we look into this game, who do you got? What are your keys, and who do you got winning this game?
First of all, let me be clear. It's not very smart of you to be dismissing the fact that anything is possible. But what I will say is this:
J.R. Smith is nowhere near the field, sir.
Well, neither is Kevin Garnett. I get it, but but at the end of the day, my friend, it's a very interesting point. I try not, on matters of the Kansas City Chiefs, I try not to listen to one Nick Wright. But he makes a very interesting point today on one of his many shows / social media pieces. When Patrick Lavon Mahomes II does lose, you win the shootout. You don't beat him with defense, you win the shootout. And also, if you happen to be the Buffalo Bills, I'm not as cruel on their running attack as anybody else is, but I do believe that they are a team that uses the pass to set up the run, kind of like a West Coast offense does. If you have, let's say, Jerry Rice, Jonathan Taylor with Joe Montana at quarterback, you're passing to set up the run. That's how that works, right? I think the Bills need to do the same thing, and it's kind of compelled by this shootout case that I saw Nick Wright make. You've heard me say on this show since August that Stephon Diggs is, in fact, the MVP of the Buffalo Bills offense. You have heard me on this show several times that receiver core is literally the best they've had since Andre Reed and company, okay? You have heard me say on this show that Josh Allen's peak in this year is as a result of that core, but he's also done plenty to improve himself. If they win the game and it turns out that Josh Allen is the one who has the most rushing yards, no one's going to complain. You've cited them yourself that your biggest issue with the Buffalo Bills is that they don't have that running game. Fine. Take that off the table. Bite down and test Josh Allen. Sling that ball all over the yard. Make it a shootout. If Josh Allen is supposed to be this MVP caliber quarterback that we've been promised, because we know they got the receiver core, this game is the day you try to test it. Now, granted, they'll fail because Patrick Lavon Mahomes II is an excellent quarterback, and at some point, the Kansas City Chiefs defense will get in and cause at least one turnover for the Bills. Probably only one. But it's going to be a close affair, folks. Make no mistake. And maybe Mahomes is kept off the field a little bit, but at the end of the day, if I'm the Bills, I come out shooting.
I mean, the thing is, with the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't care how good your defense is or how good your offense is, you have to punch Kansas City first. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you have to not only punch them, you have to continue to keep punching them. You have to be able to punch them good enough so when they get up and they have their run, Kyle, you've been preaching this. I've been preaching this since last season. Okay. When Patrick Lavon Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs get it going, and they will, there's a stretch of the game. They're going to score multiple touchdowns in multiple minutes. It happens. You have to be able to withstand the punch.
Yeah.
Very few teams,
and that's why you got to sling it. Exactly.
Very few teams can withstand that punch and actually keep a game. The reason why the 49ers were so successful is because they held that punch away for 55 minutes, 50 plus minutes of the game. It just so happens when the Chiefs punch back, it was in the final 10 minutes of the game.
Well,
that's
right.
the only thing.
And keep in mind that game you mentioned with the Niners, too much of that withstanding of the punches came in the form of field goals instead of touchdowns, right? Let's be real.
Yeah, but when I say holding the punches is the fact of, Kansas City is going to score eventually.
Right.
Their offense
Oh,
is
yeah.
their offense is too superly talented not to score.
Yeah,
so
that's really my point. You're not going to keep them back with field goals, right?
And that's what Cleveland had the issue with last week.
Exactly.
Kansas City's not scoring touchdowns; they're getting field goals, and you're not getting touchdowns on top of their field goals. You got to withhold it. And I think of this game on Sunday. I think it's the late game on Sunday. Buffalo, you're right. Buffalo can throw with Josh Allen. And listen, Stephon Diggs has had a great season. We've talked about Gabe Davis on the show a bunch. Cole Beasley's superly underrated.
He's a little hurt though. I don't think he's going to be much of a presence here.
Yeah, but Dawson Knox has been really good in the red zone at tight end. They have weapons everywhere. Now, do they have the 4x100 receiving team, track team that Kansas City has? No. But if, like you said, if Josh Allen leads the team in rushing with 75, 80 yards on the ground and it keeps control of the game, you know me, you got, like you said, you got to do what you got to do. I don't think in this situation, unless Mahomes is not 100%, I don't think Buffalo wins this game at all. I don't. I think the Chiefs will put up enough points as long as Mahomes is 80% healthy. I think that at the end of the day, I think Chiefs 38. Like you say, it's going to be a score fest. But I think it's 35-31 Chiefs. And the Bills score a late touchdown to make the game 4 points. I don't think it's going to be a last-minute drive. I think the Bills get a late touchdown, 35-31.
Now, that all being said, don't be surprised if our man, the Kool-Aid man, Andy Reid, hi, Precious, doesn't come out handing the football off. Well done, Bobby. Handing the football off because if you're any good coach, you're coming out first defending Patrick Mahomes to see what he's going to do.
You're forcing Kansas City to run the ball with Hilaire, Bell, Williams. If Kansas City gets 200 yards on the ground and you lose, you'll take that than Patrick Mahomes throwing for over 400 yards. You'll take them beating you on the ground than them beating you in the air.
Yeah. At least that way the scoring slows down and you have a chance to keep up. That's a good point.
Now, Kyle, who'd you have in the games on Sunday? Chiefs or Bills?
I have the Chiefs, absolutely. But again, one last point. We may not be giving the Bills defense enough credit. We'll be soon shown on Sunday. Moving on.
I think the Bills have a great defense. It's just hard to stop the Chiefs from scoring. That's the only part. If Mahomes is on, it's hard. It really is hard to keep from scoring. All right, second game in the early game on Sunday. It's the old bowl part 2, Kyle.
Oh.
All right, listen.
The recent history bowl.
Yeah, I know, right? We went from BC to AD all real quickly. All right, so in the Bible realm. All right, so in this game, Kyle, we have the Green Bay Packers hosting their first ever championship game with Aaron Rodgers as starting quarterback against Tom Brady and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Perfectly timed.
Exactly. So, Kyle, here's the thing. We all know Brady's about his legacy. And what nothing better to form into the team that wanted to get rid of him is to win the NFC Championship game in a place where he's never won before. The issue is Green Bay's been playing some really good football, and we talk. I don't think we've given Green Bay enough credit on the show for being as good as they've been. Now they have a chance to prove it. Kyle, it's Green Bay. It's cold. It's nasty. The Bucs are a Floridian team. Do they stand a chance this game on Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely they do. Because at the end of the day, they got two things working for them. Sure, there's going to be some people on that squad that are limited because of the weather, no question. But at the end of the day, Thomas Edward Bieber Brady is capable in one more way. He's got more weapons than Aaron Charles Rodgers. He just does. At the end of the day, he's got more receivers. At the end of the day, he's got a better defense to support him. And I can even make a pretty strong case that while neither O-line is the best in the league, they're at least both competent. Where at the end of last season, nobody was saying that about the Bucs offensive line, right? Again, neither O-line is great. I know that the Green Bay Packers offensive line gets a lot of love, but mostly because Rodgers is mobile and can also manipulate the line with his count. But trust me, the O-line gets a lot of bailouts because their guy Aaron Rodgers behind them is the quarterback. When you really break down the weapons here, Danny Thompson, you can certainly make a strong case that the Bucks have the better defense. They certainly have the better receiving core. And the quarterback is basically a wash. I would give a slight edge to Rodgers because of his mobility. Really, the only position that the Packers take home clearly is the running back himself. All right? Aaron Jones is a good back, but guess what? If my choice is to have all those weapons in Leonard Fournette and Devontae Adams and Aaron and
Scanlon,
Aaron Jones, and yeah, that'll do it. I'm going to take the weapons that the Bucks have. Moreover, above everything else, Brady's going to win this game for one reason alone. The same reason he made a comeback against a certain team a few years back. So I have to keep listening to the people that want to try to tell me that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. He's the most decorated. He's not the best. He might be the best preparer. He is not the best naturally talented quarterback, and people need to accept that as fact. But man, he's got a nice touch. And at the end of the day, listen, I got Brady for both reasons of having more weapons, and darn it, I think karma just hates me that much. Danny Thompson.
All right, so in this game, when you look at the two teams and how they look on paper, you're right. Tampa has more weapons. I mean, we talk about receiving options and where to throw the ball to. I mean, you're looking at Mike Evans, you talk about Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, OJ Howard. You have over there, Cameron Brate. You have Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. There's weapons everywhere, and the Buccaneers' offensive line is much improved. Tristan Wirth and company, adding Tristan Wirth from the offensive line, they're much better than what they were last year. That's correct. The defense, Devin White's a monster at linebacker with Levante David. White was just everywhere on the field. David, of course, is one of the best inside linebackers in the game. And the front four led by JPP and the Dominican Sue, they can get to the quarterback. Secondary, it's a lot better than it was last year because the front seven's a lot better than what it was.
Fair.
Secondaries make plays, and I love Antoine Winfield Jr. And like I say, yeah, and Chris Godwin's a Philly guy. So there are weapons everywhere. But man, the one thing you mentioned about the Packers that make them so good is that they know, and we've seen it, when they got to get the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones, they put the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones. Jones was great last week against the Rams. When Aaron Jones comes up big when he needs to, he didn't come up big last year in the NFC Championship game because nobody for the Packers showed up in that game. All right, the Packers really missed the flight, and the junior varsity team flew to San Francisco last year and got destroyed in the NFC Championship game. Rodgers is also playing with that on his shoulders too because listen, they got to the NFC Championship game, and Kyle, I'll be honest with you, I had the Packers winning that game last year. I thought they were going into San Francisco winning that game.
And I told you were wrong, but you had other plans.
But
I tried to say you, Danny Thompson.
I know you did, but the thing was, Aaron Rodgers was horrible, and the team played terrible. I think the memory of that last year is going to be in Green Bay's favor, especially being at home. It sucks. It sucks they don't have fans. All right. And one thing Aaron Rodgers learns best is that this is not the first game that we saw a few weeks ago, and where Tampa literally destroyed them in their own stadium.
In light of what you said, I'm going to make a statement. If the Packers win this game, does that make the 49ers the most valuable player?
Hell no.
You see what I'm joking about?
I know
the whole thing, the impression.
No.
Anyways, no, of course it doesn't.
Hell no, it doesn't. No, but what I think in this game, I think Aaron Jones makes a bigger statement in this game than what it is.
He's going to need to. And
I think that Matt LaFleur and company know that. Because like you mentioned before, like in the first game, you do not want to get into a shootout with Tom Brady and that Buccaneers offense.
You were about to say Thomas Edward Brady. I saw.
I really was. I was going to say Bieber Brady at the same time.
Nice.
You don't want to get into a shootout with Tom Brady. You never want to. All right, not with this. This is This isn't the New England team we saw last year. Okay, you can get to a shootout with that team because you're going to win anyway. You don't want to get into a shootout with them. So what are they going to do? Control the clock. Can the secondary somehow keep Devontae Adams away from the football? And also on top of that, Allen Lazard, Vontez Scantling, they can get past defenders. We saw Lazard with the big play last week over the top. Somebody's going to have to get over the top, and there's going to be a point in the game where the Bucs are going to go for an all-out blitz, and somebody is going to get hit deep. This looks like, Kyle, to be the Aaron Jones 200-yard game. 200 all-purpose yards from Aaron Jones. I'm actually going to take the Packers in this one.
You
And
really think that Aaron Jones is going to be an impact with Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea both in that middle, huh?
Listen, it's not going to the. They're not going to run up the middle. They're going to go to the outside. They're going to use pulls. They're going to use screens. They're going to find ways to get Aaron Jones the ball. There have been games where Aaron Jones catches 100 yards receiving. We've seen it off screens. And if he gets into that second level, as much as I love Levante David, the only person that can catch him at the second level would be White, Devin White. He's the only one that can catch him at the second level. I think the Buccaneers' magic will run short in this one. I like the
close game at least.
Close game is not the word. I think this goes down to the final series.
Okay.
Either way, whoever has the ball, it's going to be final series. I got Packers 24-23. And I mean, literally, edge of your seat. This is the game that sets up, like, you could even think, okay, kids no better than this. This is the better of the two games on Sunday. I'm taking the Packers by a point. Kyle, what you got?
I think the thing we're going to agree on here is bet the under, but I got the Bucks for just the reasons I said more than anything else. I think karma hates me that much.
Well, you know what, Kyle? You know who else hates life right now? Philadelphia Eagle fans hate life right now. All right, so let's talk about let's talk about who hates life right now. Is Philadelphia Eagle fans. All right, in the last month, Eagle fans have been subjected to a whole bunch of foolishness around their franchise. Not only was the coach that helped them win their only Super Bowl, and Doug Peterson was walked out the door, word came out that Carson Wentz was the man behind the mask. In the whole fledged Scooby-Doo fashion, the actual bad guy was Carson Wentz. All right. Carson Wentz was benched, played poorly. Jalen Hurts came in, and Eagle fans saw the future in Jalen Hurts. The problem is Carson Wentz has a contract that you can't move. So what happens? For the first time, Kyle, I think in years, a quarterback that's never won a playoff game at all pulled the biggest power move possible by going to the front office and getting his head coach fired. This only happens in the NBA. I ain't never seen this in the NFL. Now, I might be wrong. I ain't never seen a head coach. I never seen a quarterback who's never won a single playoff game get the head coach fired that won a Super Bowl.
First of all, that statement's a little misleading. Okay, like at one point, this cat was trending to be an NFL MVP before he got stuck battling injuries that caused this problem. Like you're aware of that, obviously. I mean, but I don't think it's just that. Oh, sure, it made an impact, Danny Thompson. I'm not taking that from you, but this move where they did what they did to keep the Giants out of the playoffs, much to Bobby's chagrin amongst many Giant fans, was something that didn't go over well in the Eagles locker room. Didn't go over well in the Eagles camp at all. Allegedly, people were trying to fight the coach over that occurrence, right? We're trying to fight Doug Peterson over this occurrence, right? If this was truly something that rubbed management the wrong way, where they weren't necessarily, air quotes, in on it, or after the fact they're like, we're getting a lot of crappy PR, I don't want this, you're out. Over and above Wentz being like, dudes, we need a new coach, or whatever it was, I don't necessarily have a problem with them wanting to reboot. Now, there's all this talk about, oh, well, why doesn't Philadelphia hire Eric Bieniemy or some of these other coaches that are high candidates in terms of their esteem? If you are a coveted coaching candidate, Danny Thompson, why would you ask for that train fire in Philadelphia?
And the other part was Eagles management told any potential head coaching candidate, we want you to fix Carson Wentz. We want you to rebuild Carson Wentz. Like this is a $6 million man. Well, in this case, it's the $128 million man.
Literally.
Like I said,
here we go. Conspiracy theories are great, but
we don't know that. But all I can say is this: it's the head coaches that people say, well, why isn't Eric Bieniemy or Brian Daboll of the Buffalo Bills not considered for this job? Why did Eagles pass up those guys? How about this? Maybe those guys, like your point, Kyle, didn't want no part of that dumpster fire.
That's what I'm talking about.
If I'm a potential head coach, I want to walk in with the ability to call my own shots from day one. Kyle, if I want to name you my starting quarterback, I'm going to name you my starting quarterback. I don't want my front office telling me that Bobby's a starting quarterback. I don't want Bobby to tell me that he's a starting quarterback.
I like that.
That's the whole point. And Carson Wentz, and they wanted a coach that wants to rebuild Carson Wentz. So if I'm Eric Bieniemy, and I know I have a guy in Jalen Hurts that can kind of run what I do at Kansas City a little bit better than Carson Wentz, because Carson Wentz, let's be honest, has been battered and bruised partly on his own and partly on the Eagles' own, because the Eagles never gave him an offensive line or even offensive line depth to keep him upright, or even gave him receivers to actually make plays. You're trying to rebuild a damaged quarterback. Now, Kyle, you did mention he was an MVP candidate, but that was 3 years ago. What has happened since that 11-2?
Him trying to fight back from energy and get his brain right.
And Kyle, and this year he was actually healthy. He was just so bad they pulled him.
He got to be so bad because eventually they were pulling. I mean, let's be honest. He was doing some amazing things for a minute there with receivers from Old Dominion, for crap's sake. Let's not pull the entire rug out from Carson Wentz. And eventually, yes, his play did continue to decline, because I think at some point he was in the backfield. And when that's happening, you have to pull a guy so you can work him back starting in the following training camp to do something to get his damn confidence back. Either that or trade him to somebody else who can think they can do it and will take the risk. But
you know, Kyle, there was a statistic. Actually, we'll cut you off. There was a statistic about Carson Wentz. He was, I think, the second worst in the NFL on completion percentage with a clean pocket this season. The second worst.
That's where I'm pulling him seeing ghosts coming from. Like,
yeah, because I guess he got his brains beat so much.
Right, exactly. Because I mean, how many O-line injuries has this guy had to deal with throughout his career? Let's be serious here. Okay.
And the other part, and Kyle, here's the other thing. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
Go back and finish. No, I'll finish. No, you finish. I'll let you finish.
Okay. Because then I'm seeing ridiculousness here. Oh, Carson Wentz is the head coach. Listen, basketball fans, this isn't how it works in football. Okay. Nobody's calling that kind of shot as if they're LeBron James. That's not a thing that happens. Okay. I did it here. Maybe Wentz had an impact on Doug Peterson being sent out. But hey, listen, look what had to happen first. Okay. Let's be clear about that. Second, if in any way, shape, form, or fashion Carson Wentz can be salvaged, the Eagles franchise needs that if they're not able to find a way to trade him. That money is too insane. At the end of the day, where I'm at with Wentz is, here's what I'll say, and I'll go ahead and pull this card. People are having a lot of issues with the particular demographics of certain coaches being hired. I share in that. But let's put it this way, Danny Thompson. If you are wanting to see a greater representation of black head coaches in the NFL, why is it that you insist all these teams be their landing spots that don't deserve a good coach with their practices, regardless of color, okay? I love that the Ultimate Warrior, Dan Campbell, has a coaching opportunity in Detroit, except for the fact that he's not going to be worth a darn. We saw this show in Miami. It didn't go well, okay? You really want, and don't get me started on Robert Saleh taking the job in New York. I think most of that because he's a defensive coordinator, so he can't be as aggressive in negotiations. However, Eric Bieniemy is holding all the cards and he has all the keys. He's basically doing the same thing now. If he's smart, he'll do the same thing that Mr. Clappenpants did in Dallas to get the head coaching job after Wade Phillips, right? He'll take some good money as an offensive coordinator and remain on an actual Super Bowl caliber team doing it. Oh, by the way, AKA when Josh McDaniels does it, it's okay because it's the right thing to do. Heck, Josh McDaniels left the Colts high and dry. I think Eric Bieniemy should be just as deliberate and careful with his choice of landing stop. Because let's be honest, the best coaching stop right now, San Diego, right? Eric Bieniemy is not going to go in division and face Andy Reid twice a year. That's dumb. Wait till next year when Mike McCarthy will likely get fired and you could revitalize a Dallas Cowboys team that has an owner that's willing to throw cash at problems in a division that sucks and dominate there and raise your marker there and then be a super successful black head coach instead of just somebody else they try to hire. Danny Toms?
I don't think Dallas is a spot. I think it's Chicago. I think Matt Nagy's going to be gone for next season.
Why do you think that's a good job, though?
Because you have to understand, I think with the Dallas Cowboys type of job, I don't think Jerry Jones likes to do things, but sometimes Jerry Jones gets his own way. I think it's the old staying in the tree format because he left the tree to go get Mike McCarthy and it hasn't produced very well. When he stays in the tree of people that are surrounded by the Cowboys, have worked with the Cowboys, and knows the Cowboys culture, I think it'll be somebody that's been a part of the Dallas culture before that will take over Mike McCarthy when he gets canned next season. I think in Chicago that he has a little bit more free reign. I think he'll get the quarterback he wants. If the Bears don't get one this year, they'll get one when he becomes available in next year's draft. Bieniemy will have a little bit more of a leash in Chicago because they want to win. It's in a division, like you said, outside of Green Bay. Detroit's not. You said Dan Campbell in Detroit. That press conference alone is the only thing he's ever going to win in Detroit. Okay.
I half expect him to say, brother, but you know.
I thought he was going to elbow somebody at the table. Okay. If you look at the jobs that were available this year, and Kyle, there were 7 head coaching jobs.
Right.
Houston's the only one available. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I wouldn't touch that job with a 10-foot pole. Or Brian Daboll. I'm not touching that job with Deshaun Watson running out the building. Okay. And if I'm Eric Bieniemy, and the reason why you hired me is to try to keep Deshaun Watson, I don't want no part of that. You look at the other jobs that were available. Now, New York, they got the guy they want. They got, you said, a lower maintenance guy, a guy that's going to be super high energy. I love the Robert Slay's hiring out there.
Oh, yeah. I'm not knocking that hire. Let me be clear. And again, him being a defensive guy because reasons gives him less leverage. I'm with you on that. So
now we go to what? The Chargers. Now, you mentioned the whole fact of playing with Andy Reid. I love the idea of him playing with Justin Herbert and having those weapons and tools. But as an African-American myself, I just literally watched Anthony Lynn get ushered out the door and having a winning record in 3 years. Yes, he might have went 7-9 back-to-back years, but his first year he was 12-4. He went 7-9 with a rookie quarterback that came in because his first quarterback got his lung punctured trying to actually suit up and play.
What a mess. So and let's not even bring up the transition of cities too, by the way.
Yeah, you're transitioning to a city with really no training camp and no OTAs. You're bringing a rookie quarterback cold in his first game against Patrick Mahomes, and he put up a show. Now, mind you, there was some crazy, interesting play calling and decision-making in the games, but hey, this guy was a 500 or more head coach, okay? If you go to Detroit, the last African-American head coach, Jim Caldwell, actually had a winning record and got escorted right out the building.
Yeah.
He was 9-7, and they fired him. Matt Patricia won 9 games in his time. If I remember, I think it was 9 games total probably in his time in Detroit with a pencil and a clipboard in his hand. All right. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I don't want that job either. Okay. Atlanta. Well, if you look at Atlanta's situation, you have an aging quarterback in Matt Ryan who's 36 years old. And you know me, I'm a big Matt Ryan guy. But I also know that at some point in time, the transition phase has to happen. Atlanta still struggles on defense, and you're going to have to draft a quarterback, and you have no cap space to work with. Okay, you're bringing in a brand new GM. There's still a lot of things and moving pieces. Okay, so it's not exactly for Eric Bieniemy the most attractive job.
And they got Arthur Smith anyway, so.
Well, Arthur Smith plays to Matt Ryan's tendencies a little bit better than Eric Bieniemy. Okay, It is what it is. You look at the job that was available in Philadelphia. I don't touch that job because if Carson Wentz is my project, I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want nothing to do with that offensive line. The Eagles' cap is insanely bad. They have to cut players just to be able to sign rookies or restructure everybody.
Right.
So, Kyle, there's only one job, Kyle, that looks to be interesting, and that was the Jacksonville Jaguars job. But Urban Meyer decided to talk to Shad Khan for, 8 months before he got the job? Double dutching, saying, I want the job, I want the job, I got the job. Eric Bieniemy's best opportunity would have been Jacksonville. The number 1 overall pick, $90 million in cap space to work with. On top of that, the offense is already pretty solid. DJ Chark is not bad. He's a Pro Bowl receiver 2 years ago. James Robinson had 1,000 yards last year. Keelan Cole. They have a decent receiving core, okay? They have a decent offensive line. And Kyle, like I said, when you have more money to spend than anybody else in a state with no taxes, and you know what kind of coordinator you're getting,
You can rebuild a defense. Yeah.
think about this. If I'm Allen Robinson and I'm looking to go back to Jacksonville where I became a star with the offensive coordinator is going to throw the ball, and actually I'm going to have Trevor Lawrence as well too, because I'm going to have Trevor Lawrence back there unless it's Deshaun Watson. Okay. If I'm Chris Godwin and knowing that Tampa might not cut me that check because you still got other receivers in that team to pay, I don't see Chris Godwin wouldn't go up 95, leaving I-4 to go to 95 to go up to Jacksonville.
Interesting.
I'm just saying of the available jobs, and I understand why Eric Bieniemy didn't get his job opportunity. It's ridiculous. And I think the NFL needs to change the rule. And Kyle, we've talked about this in
the social pieces aside, right? I don't think it's just that here, though. Like, real quick, there are places where it says that Eric Bieniemy didn't interview well. What that means to me is he had a list of stuff that he wanted to have happen, and they weren't willing to capitulate.
Or there wasn't the places in practice for him to be successful, because as an African American head coach, you only get one shot at this. It's very rare that African American head coach, if you fail the first time, you get a second opportunity. It's very rare.
Yeah, now that's a good point. I'm not going to argue with that. And
you have to be really picky and choosy about jobs. You really have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
the only guy I know of that got two shots, and unfortunately he didn't do well at both, was Ray Rhodes. I'm sure there are other examples, but that's the one that I remember first.
I mean, Raheem Morris got a second chance in Atlanta.
Yeah,
on an interim basis.
As an active coach, that's a little different than being hired twice, right?
But
Romeo Crennel, I guess, is another example if you're going to count active.
Yeah, Atlanta had a pretty solid second half of the season when Morris took over, and Romeo Crennel, Houston was competitive. I mean, Deshaun Watson threw for almost 5,000 yards, for crying out loud.
Well, and let's not forget, what was it? He was in Kansas City as well at one point, I believe. He may have had another head coaching gig somewhere in there too. I can't remember, but
Cleveland.
I digress.
Cleveland.
There you go. Thank you. I knew it was there. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cleveland, with the exception of Kevin Stefanski, where quarterback or coach is going to die. All right, but what Kyle say, it's really at this point, I think the only way we're going to see guys like Eric Bieniemy, and what hurts Eric Bieniemy is the fact of he's preparing for another Super Bowl.
Right.
All right. And these teams want coaches to come in right now. How ironic, Kyle, that the coaches that were hired this week, the three coaches, I think was the Lions, the Chargers, I want to say was it the Lions, all their those coaches, their season
was Urban Meyer this week as well?
Well, I don't count Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was already off the market. So Campbell was coaching the Saints last week. Mm-hmm. You had the coordinator for the Rams who went down the hall to the Chiefs, was coaching last week. Dan Campbell was coaching last week. You have guys that were still coaching, and as soon as their season ended, they became head coaches. Eric Bieniemy and Brian Daboll, two of the best coordinators in football, even Byron Leftwich, if you want to consider Byron Leftwich in that case as well too, they're all still playing. You want to get your staff in place because you got draft evaluations, you have scouting to do, and in a COVID time, every second is needed.
Correct.
So the NFL needs to change this rule, and I think they should change it this way. And we'll switch to UCF after this. You need to literally, there'll be no coaching interviews during the NFL playoffs. You cannot hire any coaches, speak to any coaches, or anything else until 1 week after the Super Bowl. If the Rooney Rule is ever going to work, you got to make sure the head coaches that have an opportunity and still coaching get a chance to interview for jobs. Why did Robert Saleh not get a job last year, Kyle, when he was one of the hottest? I think he might have been higher than Bieniemy last year when it came to coaching opportunities. Why? Because he was coaching against Bieniemy in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, there's that.
He couldn't interview last year because he was focused on winning a championship. And I'm sorry, if I'm Eric Bieniemy, my concern is about the Buffalo Bills and potentially getting back to Tampa, other than worry about what the Detroit Lions are going to do with Matthew Stafford. No offense. And I'll be honest with you, that's why Louis Riddick didn't take a job either. I think he wants to be the guy working with Eric Bieniemy at whatever stop they make. You say Dallas might be the spot. I'm thinking it might be Chicago. I think Matt Nagy's job is really in danger.
I'm sure Matt Nagy's job is in danger because Chicago misplaces their blame in him where it should go to Trubisky. But that office and that situation in that city, I don't think you want it.
I don't think it's a bad situation because you walk in with because as an offensive coordinator, Kyle, what's your best friend? A good defense, and the Bears have it.
Okay, and nothing else.
But listen, as an offensive coordinator, Kyle, an offensive mind, your job is to rebuild the offense. If you already have a good defense in place, it's gonna make things easy. The Bears have a top 5 defense easily. They have the pieces in place. All they need is, like you said, is competency in offense. Maybe Nagy's not that guy, or maybe it's Trubisky. Maybe it's both. I don't know. Maybe Bieniemy goes in there, gets his quarterback, and things change a little bit. But like I said, I do like Robert Saleh. And also, Dwayne Haskins and the Pittsburgh Steelers agreed to a contract today.
Love it.
Listen, if anybody can learn from the culture, it's going to be Dwayne Haskins in Pittsburgh. I think the Pittsburgh culture reminds me of the Spurs culture. Once you go there, I think if you can't figure it out, then you don't need to be there. I think that's the same way Jameis Winston in New Orleans. If you can't figure it out in New Orleans with Sean Payton and Drew Brees and being in that locker room, all those veterans, nah, buddy, you're out the league. All right, Kyle, speaking of things of being out, a sad day down in Central Florida today is athletic director Danny White decides to depart UCF to go ahead to Tennessee.
Yeah.
No. Kyle, you cover UCF for the 3-point conversion.
I do.
What were your thoughts immediately, and what is Tennessee getting, and where does UCF go from here?
I believe if we're talking about my thoughts as a member of the press and going to bowl games on a regular basis when COVID isn't around and things like that, I said, oh, bleep. Danny White's going to be quite a blow. And keep in mind, while football is the most visible college sport, let's be clear. Danny White for the UCF Knights sports program, for UCF athletics, not just football, was a rising tide for all programs. Each and every sport practically had a lifted tide better, right? Taco Fall and all that whole stuff, and the one point away from beating Duke in the dance recently happened on Danny White's watch. The football achievements of the 2 undefeated regular seasons, back-to-back American Athletics Conference championships, and back-to-back New Year's Six bowls happened on building from Danny White starting in 2015. And in 2017, they had an undefeated season, were marked national champions by the Collie Matrix, and then got back and finished within the top 15 the following year in the poll as well. And just the excellence goes on and on within just UCF sports. And here's what's interesting, Kenny Thompson, about Danny White. He understands how social media relates to the athletes and the fans, and also how much the media can be leveraged to make his team prominent. Yeah, UCF should have won that game versus Duke. I agree with you, Mark. But at the end of the day, Danny White did an awful lot pretty damn fast to build a program. Now, am I here to tell you that Tennessee is going to become a juggernaut? No. But I am here to tell you that Danny White is the kind of new blood that you want put into a program because he understands those things you need to do to beat out recruits from that would otherwise go to Bama, Georgia, Florida, and any other, Texas A&M, Auburn, anybody else in the SEC. Arguably the best in college football, right? At least that's what conventional wisdom tells us. Certainly better than the sorry-ass ACC, right, Bobby? The whole situation there, you have to compete for competition, I should say for competition, but for players so that they can compete on Saturdays. And he can do the little things to make it happen, and it won't just be a fluke program like how Oregon used to just be the place with the fancy uniforms. At some point, maybe it'll turn out that UCF would, unfortunately, the worst case scenario is that become the place with the cool Twitter account and nothing else. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We'll see. But I think that kind of energy and to reach the younger demographic is what he's bringing to a blue blood tradition. That's dangerous if you're trying to compete against them in recruiting.
So, Kyle, I'm going to get my thoughts on Danny White in a second. So, where does UCF go from here?
I mean, it's all in the next candidate, right? Listen, somebody in that institution had to have understood that if you're a member of the American and you have success like is had here or at Cincinnati, hell, even Even Chadwell, Coach Chadwell of Coastal Carolina, has been talked about as somebody who'll go up to the Power Five here pretty soon. Or, I forget his name. Fickle is Cincinnati. I'm forgetting the coach's name for Liberty, but now Hugh Freeze is even now being talked about as a P5 candidate. It's a situation where if you're in the G5 with the way things are set up right now, you are unfortunately being treated like a pool to be promoted elsewhere. And so what you got to do if you're a UCF is be able to go next man up pretty darn fast. And that's a tall order if you're trying to replace Danny White.
So, Kyle, if you're UCF, do you find somebody in-house or do you go out-of-house?
See, my instincts would be to find another member of the White family if they're available, right? But unfortunately, a lot of them have jobs. So I'll put it this way. I think she's at FAU. I could have this wrong, but the Whites have a daughter that are in the business. That would be Danny White's sister, right? It's possible that that's a way they could go, among other things. But don't be surprised if somebody else with the last name of White is called in to take that job.
I'm going to tell you about this. Like you've said so many things about Danny White. When you mentioned the fact that the UCF program in basketball has grown, UCF, after struggling in basketball for years, they went and got Johnny Dawkins. They've improved the facilities. Remember, that arena was not built until Danny White got on campus.
Correct.
I think, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, that Spectrum Stadium was on Danny White's watch.
No, that was well before. O'Leary was still the coach back then. Yeah, no, that had been around for a while. I think that's 2010.
Okay, so you had the basketball arena was put on his watch. The basketball program has grown. Like you said, we mentioned Taco Fall, but bringing in Johnny Dawkins and taking him away from Stanford to get the UCF job.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big hire, like you said, in the AAC. He has made UCF relevant. Not only, Kyle, when he was defending the school when it was undefeated, he made people talk about UCF because he was willing, like you said, to go up, and he knows what the media is about. He knows how it thinks. He knows how it develops. He knows, like you said, social media. He knows how to generate. Tennessee has a star in their hands. Now, their football program is a mess right now because the last head coach might have put them on probation. Like some school that's Irish that's on probation as well, too. We're not going to talk about this week. Danny White's going to get the right coach. I think Hugh Freeze is the right guy to go get him from Liberty. Whatever the buy does, go get him. I don't think Luke Fickell wants that job. I think Luke Fickell's waiting on Ohio State. He'll stay at Cincinnati and dominate there until Ohio State or Michigan becomes available.
Well, him dominating at that spot isn't necessarily a given, but granted, Danny White leaving UCF, that kind of helps.
Listen, Cincinnati's recruiting is getting a lot better, and if your recruiting is getting better and you're starting to match athlete for athlete with UCF, that's a different story. And you got to think, look at the coaches that Danny White brought in at UCF. He brought in Scott Frost and then went to Josh Heupel. He brought in exciting former quarterbacks that were Heisman Trophy candidates and winners. So he's going to bring excitement to the Tennessee program, something that team hasn't had in a while. The school hasn't had in a while. Tennessee is needed in the SEC to be strong again. Okay. You still need that third SEC East team to be strong. No one really wants to see, as good as Georgia and Florida have been, we need Tennessee fighting the Gators that third week of September in Knoxville. We need that back. And so, Kyle, before we say we need things, Kyle, we need to talk about the people shouting out tonight because it's time to close out the show tonight. Kyle, you should shout out.
Listen, shouts out to Mark and Ronnie, of course, in the comments, and anybody else who I am forgetting here. Excellent show tonight. A lot of fun with you, Danny Thompson. Props to our main man, Bobby Blackjack, shooting the artillery from a distance to help us with the production. Who? Exactly.
Hey, go ahead.
And of course, to round it all out, I need to give a quick shout out to my dude Demosthenes Euclid, my main man, when I am doing hilarity by default. Check out for more episodes to drop later this week or sometime next week. What can I say? It's hard when you are the main man making things happen to stream church services at a Greek Orthodox church. You get very busy very fast. I'm just saying. Anyways, Danny Thompson.
Bobby, any shouts where we go, my friend?
Go Bills.
What a troll. Gotta love Bobby up in New Jersey. Check out the Bobby Blackjack Show on the I-95 Sports Network. And of course, that'll be the promo as we leave out the show. And shout out to my end. Big shout outs, like I said, to everybody, like to Kyle's point. Mark, of course, my main man from Philly. Big shout outs to him. Check out their show on the I-95 network on Blackjack TV. They have multiple shows between the guys. And if you're a big fan of Power, they have an outstanding show breaking down every episode of Power. Mark and Stacks and that entire crew over there, my main man, Sean and Dre, and Dre's team is the Bills, I think. And I think he's a Bills fan, I think, because don't know what Dre sometimes. Check their show out multiple nights of the week on the Blackjack TV network. Big shouts, like I said, to Rodney. He's back in the fire. Check out Under Construction, and to the lovely Precious, as always. So for myself, check out me and Kyle every single week, twice a week here on this show, and also check out our work on the 3pointconversion.com. Check out the Hornets post-game show because the Hornets are actually back in action tomorrow. They're in action, no COVID involved in it. For myself, Kyle, Bobby, the entire crew, we'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy the championship games, and you know what, Kyle? If the NFL is smart, when the games are over, go to Tampa and get in the bubble for 2 weeks. We'll see you guys on Monday. Peace.
Yeah.